Hello, and welcome to another episode of Take Your Life Back with Grit and Grace. I'm Jen Ingram.
And I'm Leanne Bonnell. And we're so excited that you're here because tonight we're going to talk about my vacation, no slides, don't leave, and what we both observed and learned while I was away. Should be
Yes, I know. We've been gone for 2 weeks, but I want to know, okay, so where did you go? Tell me all about your vacation. Where did you go?
Okay, so Eric and I went from Richmond, Virginia to Houston, Texas, and we had many stops in between. We stopped in Tennessee to break up the drive. Oh yeah, we drove. We did not fly. We drove. So we stopped in Tennessee the first night, and for those of you, this is not a paid endorsement, but Drury Inns are THE bomb. Love that hotel. I'm just in love. I will stay there every time I get a chance. So we stopped in Tennessee, and then we were in Mississippi to see my parents for a couple of days. And then we went on to Vicksburg, Mississippi. And for those of you who are history nuts, you know that Vicksburg was the key to the North winning the Civil War, and also the key of the South losing. They call it the key of the South, and there are keys painted all over the sidewalks. So we went through the battlefield. We did a ghost tour, and y'all, when you go to a city that you're unfamiliar with and you like history, I'm a history nerd. I'll sometimes hashtag myself, but I will tell you, I have learned more history about the area, about the buildings and what have you on a ghost tour. It's totally campy. It's totally fun. I don't know. You may or may not get touched by a ghost. You may or may not even believe in it. But the fact of the matter is you will learn history, and it is fascinating. And even some of the stories of people who have, oh my God, I got touched by a ghost. It's scary. Seriously, it is the most fun that you can have, and probably the cheapest fun, and usually with a group. But Eric and I, we had a personal tour because nobody else wanted to come. So fine, bye. So we walked around Vicksburg quite a bit. It's it's very hilly. It's on the Mississippi River, and it's up on cliffs. So very neat place. Very, very cool place. Huge, huge national park there. So if you're there and it's not in the middle of summer, go there. Then we wandered through Louisiana over to Texas, and we spent some time in Texas, and I went to this wedding. I was the makeup artist for the bride, and just watching her go from early 20s to now an established wife, and that was just so special. And then we started our way back, and we stayed with my parents. And oh no, we didn't. We went to Long Beach, Mississippi, which is on the Gulf. It's a very quiet place, and it's beautiful. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's kind of inexpensive at the moment too. So and there's lots to do. So we went to Long Beach. I sat my happy self on the beach because that is my happy spot. And then we went to mom and dad's, back to Tennessee, and home.
How long did it take you to get there? How long did it take you to get to Houston?
Well, because we took a week to get there, it took us a week.
Oh.
Yeah, we didn't stop like all in a weekend. So it took us a week to get there. We stayed there through Memorial Day, and then we came back.
Got it.
So it was 2 weeks. And I haven't been on a 2-week vacation in a long time, especially when driving like that. So it was interesting, to say the least. My husband hates car rides. So I drove and he was banging away on my computer, taking down words and thoughts. He was like my secretary. It was wonderful for him and kind of for me because I had to drive everywhere. So, but yeah, it was great fun and glad that we did it. I don't know that we'll ever drive like that to Houston again. And then when we got home, because my parents' house has been for sale for at least a year, they told us that they had sold the house. So it was a good thing that we went down there because they have to be out by September.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been quite the adventurous 2 weeks. I will give you that.
Well, and given the current state of housing, do they have a place to go to?
Nope. No, and I'm
Okay.
guessing they got pretty close to asking. Otherwise, they were not going to let that place go. And for what they were asking for it, they can pretty much buy anything that they want in the area that they are in cash.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. The area that they live in Mississippi is very much the land that time forgot. It's like 1960-ish, late 50s. That is the feel, and that is where they want to stay. So, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So the ghost tour, I'm assuming you didn't feel any ghosts.
Not on this one. And the one we went on in Scotland, the little bastard pulled my hair. Oops, I shouldn't have said it that way, but yeah, I got my hair pulled. And I accuse Eric of pulling my hair, but he swears up and down it wasn't him.
That's crazy.
Lots of fun. Lots of fun.
So, not having taken like a 2 week long vacation in this span of time before, what were did you feel like you had time for pause? What are some of your reflecting moments?
So it's interesting that you asked that. We did unintentionally schedule some days that were just down days. We weren't doing anything in particular, like the beach day that we had in Long Beach. That was a down day. We had a day in Mississippi that in Houston that we just hung out in the hotel because we just were both of us were so kind of tired. We just didn't want to move. So, yeah, we built in some downtime. Even spending a couple days with my parents, their idea of downtime is go, go, go. I've never seen, oh yeah, I have seen older people run like my parents do, but so we did. We had to schedule some downtime because we were driving 5 and 6 hours each time we were driving. That's just the
Yeah.
distance we had to span. So, yeah, I would say that if you take a trip like that, you need to build in some downtime. Otherwise, you come back sore and cranky, and the vacation from the vacation is truly one of those phenomenons that you're like, I don't want to do this ever again. So, yeah, it was lots of fun.
Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes I think people overschedule their vacation.
Well, I agree. My husband and I had an agreement. We scheduled the hotels the first week. The second week, nope, we didn't. So we had a choice. We could spend an extra day with my parents, or we could spend a day at the beach. And we decided to spend a day at the beach. So, and that is what we did. And I'm thankful for that because the beach is my happy place. I feel very spiritually connected to the beach. And yeah, it did my heart and soul some good.
Yeah, and it brings, I think, going to the beach, you take your shoes off, you get with the sand, the water, the air, like truly ground yourself. Um, it can be incredibly powerful. Absolutely a form of self care for sure. Um, but I think oftentimes people feel the need to schedule in all these activities on their vacation. And then, yeah, you get that need for a vacation from the vacation. And yeah, I've done that, been there.
Me too. Me too. Every time we go to like, every time we've been to Europe, we need to schedule some time to recover, not just for the jet lag, but because we're nonstop. You don't want to stop when you're there because you might miss something and you don't know when you're going to come back. But
Right.
to do this trip that we just did, it was really fascinating because we were in the South and y'all, the South is open. And it was just, it was normal. It felt good. People were smiling at each other. Um, and it just felt good.
So I know that you've talked before about, you've been on this weight loss journey for a while, you work with your trainer, and you see him frequently throughout the week on a regular basis, and you walk. So, how did that all work out with vacation?
So, vacation. Let's talk about vacation and your normal routine. So, you're right. My normal routine is to see my trainer 3 times a week. I walk. I try to get out there 5 days a week, 45 days a week, let's say. And the food I eat is whole. It's healthy-ish. Don't get me wrong. I do like my cheese, but I am eliminating a lot of dairy. About the only dairy that I get is through cheese. Um, and I have switched from coffee to tea because of the acidity. I have made all of these improvements, and I keep a daily food log for my trainer and give it to him. Y'all, I might as well have just written, ooh, I gotta find crap, and given it to him yesterday. Because that is exactly what I did. I ate crap. And my mom, she was really funny because she said, I'm reading some of your Facebook posts. And for those of you who know me and are on Facebook with me, you know that my posting has shifted to reflect more of my business. And one of the posts said something about I've narrowed down the breakfast choices to three kinds, and I'm really stuck on one. And she said, "What are you stuck on?" I said, "Shakes." I said, "But don't worry about it. I'll eat whatever." Oh, that was the death knell, because we had bacon and eggs, which aren't bad in themselves, but I didn't have the whole foods that I was accustomed to. I had real milk, which upsets my stomach unbelievably. Um, and it always has. And so when you are in that vacation environment, you've got to remember, yeah, yes, you do not want to take a blender along at the beach. I remember you had said something about that, but you've got to remember that you need whole foods. You need to maintain some of the things. And because we were eating out so much, I noticed that I slipped back into bad habits that I had thought I had I had killed and buried with the rest of the bodies. Not so much, not so much. And I can see it in my face. It's a little puffier.
Do you think so? Some of those old habits that you think are just that old, they're no longer something that you practice on a regular basis. What do you think brought some of those old habits to life? Was it being in an environment like you used to be in on a regular basis in your old self, or what brought that on?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Prior to about 6 or 8 months ago, we would go out quite regularly. Um, and I, th- I hadn't really thought about it, but I think you're probably right. It's that old environment. It's that old. Hey, we're out. We might as well have an appetizer. Oh, Eric, you want dessert? Okay, let's have dessert. And so we would have appetizers. Like when we were on the beach, we had calamari because it was fresh. And the shrimp were brought in on the boat that morning. So you have to have all those good appies, right? No, no, you don't. And what I noticed with myself was that um, if the waitress would say, we have XYZ appetizer, and it sounded good, rather than being my normal disciplined self, I'd be like, oh, yeah, get us one of those. And at the end of dinner, we don't eat a whole lot of sweets, but Eric was like, oh, yes, I would like one of those. And I'm like, and I want one of those. So one night I had a Mississippi mud cake, and he had, I don't know, some bread pudding with rum frosting ish thing on it. It was great. It was wonderful. It was a lot. And I ate on that fudge. I ate on that brownie, a Mississippi mud cake, which was basically brownie with fluff on it and chocolate chips. It was decadent. It was wonderful. I ate on that thing for 3 or 4 days. And I mean, it was a good sized chunk, but something in me clicked and said, you cannot eat all that in one sitting. And so I ate on it for 3 or 4 days and had other desserts and crap too. But yeah, I think it was a lot of just being in that old environment and ma'am, you forget yourself. You really do.
Well, I think it's interesting, and I think there is definitely some pride to be had in the fact that you were self-aware enough and able to honor your body enough to say, I'm eating this, yes, this is in front of me. I can't eat all this, like physically. I mean, I don't know about you, but there was a time where, yeah, every time we went out, it was that I wanted this extravagant experience every time. And I would use it as, well, we're out. Only we went out almost every dang day. And so we would do the appetizers and the meal and the this and the that. And, to be able to honor yourself and your hunger and your fullness and say, I don't need to eat all of this right now. I can save this. I can enjoy this later. I am still enjoying an experience without me eating to the point of getting sick.
Yes. Oh yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and even with the fresh seafood, because I mean, in the area we were literally on the coast. I mean, we may have been like 2 hours inland, but we were still on the coast, and you're still getting that great fresh seafood. And it's just, I was justifying it to myself was as well. I'm not eating it fried, so I had it broiled or steamed or whatever. Okay, cool. And I wasn't having um, the vegetables. I was having a lot of pasta and a lot of bread. And what I noticed about my body, and what you and chime, feel free to disagree, but what I noticed about my body was that it was craving vegetables, like just going out of my mind craving vegetables. And when I had an opportunity to get a vegetable, I would get the vegetable called macaroni and cheese. Vegetable in the South. So yeah, I listen to my body. I have arthritis in both of my knees, and the lack, I think the addition of the gluten, carbs, and everything else. Oh, and I was drinking a lot of coffee. I felt the pain in my knees. I felt the bloating in my stomach. The stomach is still bloaty. I was not drinking the water that I should have been. I don't think I now I did not take my red bottle, and you know that this is kind of my trademark. I did not drink a full liter of water until we were leaving Houston. I mean, I had a water bottle with me, but I would fill it up and drink it once every 2 days. But when we left Houston, I was so parched. I'm like, I ran into the gas station while Eric was getting gas, and okay, the guy who opened the door for me, he was hilarious. He's like, "Oh, my lady," and I curtsied, and it was fun. But I ran in there and I got two 2-liter bottles of water, and my body was just like, thank you. And that's when I noticed the belly bloat going away. And when we got home, I started drinking my gallon of water like normal, and my body's like, thank you. God, why you starve me like this? So there's things on vacation that we do to neglect. I was very proud of myself. I did not have any soda or pop. None. Unsweet tea or water.
That's impressive to me, because it's really hard, when you're only stopping at gas stations or whatever along the way, to not want something fizzy or sweet, or I always want something crunchy. I'm like, I want chips or um, whatever. And all this to say, I want to say there is no guilt or shame. Like, you should be able to go out and enjoy yourself and enjoy foods that you eat. I think the point is understanding moderation and understanding how to honor yourself and honor your body in the way to be able to say, yes, I am here for an experience, and so you were near the ocean, which you're not always near every day, and so you had an opportunity for fresh seafood and or whatever. It's okay to say, hey, I want to enjoy this experience, but I want to enjoy this experience without feeling miserable, without the guilt. I don't want to have to come back from vacation. And then the other guilty thing, the little mind trick that we play on ourselves, is we think, oh, I'm back from vacation. Now I have to go work out twice as much this week and punish my body or myself because I was on vacation. We don't want to do that either. Right. But it's super interesting to me how I think it's twofold. I think there's a couple things. I think, one, we see ourselves in an old environment that is familiar, and we're looking for that feeling and that experience of extra, of whatever, and we're craving that. And in our minds, some things tasted better than what they actually do. And so we're seeking that dopamine, right? That feeling of being on vacation and blah, blah, blah. And I remember when at one point, I had been signed up to get weight loss surgery. And I had to take a year's worth of classes with a nutritionist. And I remember the nutritionist, one of the things that she would always say is, don't, so when I would go to check in and have my weigh in, she would say, now don't go home having your last supper. You've had a million last suppers over the last 20, 30 years of your life. You already there's no need to feel like I need my last supper. If you feel like I need a last supper before I start a diet, that's your first sign that, not to be mean, but you're going to fail. Because a diet's only temporary. you're setting yourself up. There's no need for a last supper. There's no need to say, I'm never going to have this again. You can have it. Um, Everything in moderation, and you can still enjoy yourself without making yourself sick or miserable or guilting yourself afterwards.
Yes. And, you know, one of the things that I really realized while we were away, to your point about double exercising and everything, we were active. We were walking. We were, you know, we were touring. We were ghost touring. We were walking around on battlefields and stuff like that. But it wasn't what I was accustomed to. So when I got back and when I was working out with my trainer yesterday, he's like, well, we'll get you back to where you were. And I looked at the settings on the elliptical, which, you know, I'm usually doing like a level 10. I was doing a level 6. And I bumped that baby up. And it didn't stay there that long. And I bumped myself right back down. And I saw him. He was just grinning at me. I'm like, I know. I still think I'm 20. And I still think that I can compete with your teenagers, which I totally can. And yeah, you're out of your routine. You're out of everything. And it's when you mentioned working with the nutritionist, I remember doing the Weight Watchers thing because, you know, we've all gone through those things. And they said that it was a good thing. Excuse me. It was a good thing to shake it up every once in a while. And this was a huge shakeup because we were gone for 2 weeks. And, you know, it was just, I told my trainer yesterday, I never thought I'd be so happy to get home and cook. Now, I have expressed on this channel before how much I hate to cook. I hate it. We've had chicken 3 days in a row. I cooked extra chicken on the grill last night, pork chops, and I had that grill full just to have the meal prepping food available. The first thing I did when we got home was I made a batch of rice and a batch of quinoa. I made sweet potatoes tonight because I was frankly just too tired over the weekend to do all this food prep. But now I'm starting to get back to where, there's grabbable food in the fridge and it's good grabbable food. So now we can have that. And I am just amazed at how I've changed and the discipline that I have exhibited with my journey, and how when you go off of your path, you're like, oh my God, this is it's fun, it's cool, but it's uncharted, and I want to get back right on my path. And that was something that really surprised me a lot.
Yeah. As humans, we crave routine. And I think that's why it's so important that, that people understand when you're looking to really change your life or you're looking for a lifestyle change. And, we preach a lot about having to become a different person and creating consistent action that is in alignment with who you want to become. And it isn't even so much about doing anything drastic. You shouldn't be doing drastic action steps or changes, small increments that create a routine. Because what will happen is you will crave that routine, and that's what will keep you going. The motivation, some days it's there, some days it's not. But what you will want is your routine back.
Yes.
You probably weren't excited to come home and get back on the elliptical, but you were excited for the routine.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. And even Eric was saying that he was ready for his routine. He is a creature of habit, and yeah, he was ready. And yes, I was craving the elliptical a little bit. I was craving, I was just craving it. And, to your point, I have made small steps forward, some backwards, some a lot more forward in this whole process. And, as you can testify to this as well, if you are moving in that direction and you just keep making those small little incremental steps, don't go into it whole hog. Don't think that you're gonna it took time to put on this weight. Don't think that it's going to go away in a day. Those small incremental steps, though, they're so important. And when you walk back and you're like, oh, I'm on vacation, this will be fine. Yeah, okay. But don't slip back in those habits permanently, because I think, in my mind anyway, with my personality, it was so much harder to take those incremental small steps forward than it was to take that giant big leap backward and go, hey, hello, Mississippi mud pie.
Yeah. I'm curious, one other question. Did you notice any change in the kind of activities that you sought out on this vacation versus prior vacations?
Meaning?
So, in other words, there were times where I would go on vacation and it seemed like the whole vacation really centered around food. And it was more about, well, we're going to go to this location because they have this restaurant and that restaurant. And so we're going to plan all of our events around the next thing that we're going to eat, as opposed to what activities can we do?
So this vacation, previous vacations, it was all about the activities. Sometimes about the food. Eric and I have been out of country twice as a married couple, and a lot of that is food based, because you want to experience you want to eat haggis. It's not as gross as it really sounds. It really isn't. It's actually pretty good, and you want to absorb that culture. So what this vacation, yes and no. Yes, we were in the car a lot. So we were also not walking around as much as I would have liked to. And because we didn't really know what we were going into with the whole COVID-y thing, some places are still weird. And every state that we went through was open, but some people were just weird. And so I didn't want to drink the water because I didn't want to stop every 20 minutes. And I didn't know what I was going to run into. The food was awesome that we ate. And in Texas, you want to have barbecue. You just do. And on the coast, you want to have fresh seafood because, hello. So yes and no. We stopped in a town called Laurel, Mississippi. There's a show that's on HGTV that's filmed there. It's called Hometown. Cute little town. And we went to this restaurant. Eric watches the show more than I do. And he knew this restaurant from the show. And we stood there. It was great food. We had fried chicken and what do we have? Fried chicken. I had fried chicken, green beans, mac and cheese, and banana pudding with real bananas in it. I mean, that's kind of few and far between. And I had unsweet tea. That meal made me feel like I had just put on the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man suit. I felt like my fingers were sausage. But we went and we shopped and we walked around, and that helped a lot.
Yeah.
But as far as planning our trip around the food, Not really, but kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I'm not saying that there's anything, because I agree. You want to experience the culture, and food is so much about culture. And it's not even just the food, right? It is the entire experience, because you go, especially if it's a local, you're not going to a chain, you're going to a local restaurant, and you get to experience the people, the food. It's truly there for a cultural experience. Um, but I
Oh,
know, like for me, one of the things that I notice is, when I'm traveling somewhere now, I'm looking for what activities can I do? Is there a hike I can go on? Is there, I don't know, maybe a physical activities that I would have never wanted to do before. Sure, I maybe did some shopping, whatever. That's still kind of the same. I'm a shopaholic, honestly. But it's still just really changed, because now I view things, it used to be that I might arrive in a town and I'd be like, well, that looks cool, but oh my God, I don't want to have to make that trek all the way over there and to do that activity and then come back because I want to eat. Whereas now I'm like, oh, great, let me make that trek over there, and then I'll be hungry and ready to eat when we come back.
mhm.
Like, it's a different mindset. Um, I don't
It
even know how to
is.
explain it.
No, I totally get it because it is a different mindset. Rather than going, oh, well, I can't do that because that's going to take 2 hours and I want to eat in 2 hours. Um, you go and you do the activity and you're like, I'll catch dinner when I catch dinner. It's not a big deal.
Right. Yeah. It's completely different mindset.
Hmm.
So I think, I think this is good. I'm first of all, I'm really glad you guys did decide to drive, even though it was such a long drive and you feel like you won't do it again.
Well, we'll do it again. It just will be
A
a long
while.
time now.
But I think it provided the opportunity for you to see the growth and change in yourself, the change in your overall health, the impact of changing, your diet, and even your mental diet, what you're filling your mind and your environment with. Because you've changed your environment, you've changed your routines, you've become a different person. I think there's also nothing wrong with saying, hey, some of these old habits kind of reared their ugly head when I went to some of these restaurants where I had to get the appetizer and the three-course meal and the two desserts. We couldn't just split a dessert. We each had to get different desserts, and we got a dessert drink, and we got
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the drinks. My gosh, I haven't been drinking. Like, alcohol has become such a minimal part of my, I mean, you're like, I know it's been a rough couple of years and we're all like, oh, I want my wine. Seriously, I don't partake much anymore. And I was partaking and that knocked me on my tail. Couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. So
yeah.
yeah, back to the water and the tea and
Well, I think it's okay. I think it's okay to say thank you, old self, for the experiences, because now I recognize you when you show up. And thank you for the experiences that now I can walk into a restaurant and go, okay, you know what? I do know what this tastes like. I do know what macaroni and cheese tastes like. Yes, this one might taste a little bit different, but I don't have to order it every time. But thank you for giving me those experiences. Um, even when I'm local, because I know I've been to restaurants where I did used to have to order every single thing. Now I can go to some of those restaurants and go, okay, you know what? This restaurant has this appetizer that I love. So because I know I'm going to want that appetizer, I can just get the appetizer and then I'll get a salad, and I will be full and I'll be content, and I know that I don't have to get the
yeah,
five-course meal, and
yeah,
I'm good with it.
yeah. Yeah, I wish I had that thought, but I did not. And there were some days I was craving salad, just craving it, which would have never happened before. Never.
No. That's so awesome.
So
Well,
yeah,
because your body is craving how good you feel. You know, it's not even the same dopamine that we get from the processed foods because that is a chemical shit reaction, frankly.
yeah,
So, anyways, yes, no, I think it's fabulous to be able to honor, you know, those old habits and say, I see you. I am going to be able to splurge a little bit on vacation, but now I'm able to recognize how my body feels on both sides, my old self, my new self, and now I know what to do with that.
yeah,
And I think it's pretty awesome.
yeah. I'm so excited to have learned that about myself. I've heard about this transformational feeling, and I had never experienced it. I keep going this way because I'm backwards on the camera. But I have always heard about it. I've never experienced it myself, and now that I've experienced it, it's kind of an awakening. It's
Yeah.
so yeah. Besides the rest and relaxation, the the awareness of myself and my transformation was pretty amazing.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that wraps up today's episode because I think first of all that is the biggest epiphany ever to be able now to see I have transformed. I am becoming this new person I've been trying to become. Here's all the things I've been doing to get there and now I have the tool set to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
That's incredible.
the tool set and the support. And it doesn't have to be support of an external, it's the support.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in and joining us on another episode of Take Your Life Back with Grit and Grace. I'm Jen Ingram.
And I'm Leanne Bonnell. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you'll know when we release new content.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys.